for joining me today. I'm here with update number 2 regarding my expenses and my wish list, and to kind of give you a life update about what has been going on with me since I did update number 1. So if you're new to this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Desiree and I absolutely love traveling, but I'm also angry about a lot of things. I will leave a link in the description to my intro video as well as my first update. So if you want, you can go back and watch those first and then come back to this one. So the goal is still to save up enough money to go backpacking for at least 6 months through Central America. One of the most significant changes since update number 1 is that I no longer am employed with the people that I was working for during the last video. And to be really honest, I'm angry at myself because I didn't speak up to my bosses. I just kind of assumed that they would hear about what the employees were talking about. And that doesn't really sit well with me. I really, should have sat down with my boss and been like, hey, I'm feeling this way, some other people are feeling this way, and let's dialogue about it. But instead, I just gave up on it. I don't regret quitting, but I do regret some of the things that led up to quitting. I sat with the discomfort for a little while, tried to work through it, but I was just waking up in the morning miserable. I didn't want to go to work. I always wanted to call in. I don't advocate for living a life like that. Some situations are more pressing than others, and I completely understand that. But right now, in my situation, I am back living here in Florida with my parents, and so I had that option of, this isn't working out for me, so I'm just going to move on to the next thing. I will say, however, that because I got the first job so quickly, I thought this was going to be a much easier process, but it's not. It's actually been very dehumanizing and just very agonizing and stressful to try to find another job. Most places you don't walk in with a resume anymore. Most places you apply online. And so that's what I've been doing for quite a few. I've probably put in, I don't even know, close to 50 applications online. And so many of them have you do this just ridiculous survey of about 150 questions. I'm such an honest person. I want to give my full and honest answer, but if I give my full and honest answer for these things, it's a guarantee they're not going to call me back. And they even have it set up to where they're asking pretty much the same question in a different form. But just for example, here are some of them. I had to take screenshots of them. Doing more than is expected of me is usually a waste of time. At work or school, many people are up to no good. In today's workplace, just about everyone likes to take care of themselves. A lot of companies have unnecessary rules just because they want to control people. To be honest, I would, if I was being really honest with them, I would hit strongly agree. But obviously, if I hit strongly agree, that's just, a huge percentage of the questions are just worded to make you think negatively about other people. I'm sure they would say, oh, that's not our intention, but that's the way these questions are worded. So then, even if you weren't thinking that other people are generally up to no good, now all of a sudden you're thinking that generally people are up to no good. And then you go through this process and you hit the submit button, and it's not even a guarantee that you get a callback. I've gotten one callback for an interview that I'll talk about in just a minute. Sometimes this process just to submit one application can take an hour to an hour and a half. I just don't like that there's no face-to-face interaction. I think it's a really good tool because you can learn about a lot of other businesses that are hiring that you might not have known about by, just going place to place and handing in a resume. But there's also not that face-to-face interaction. Somebody can just automatically deny me or deny any of us because they don't like a way we answered a question. And we don't even get to defend ourselves. Sometimes I gave an answer that I was like, wow, I really wish that whoever is looking at these surveys that I could give them an explanation as to why I feel that way. So for one, it says, this position does require that you will stand for up to 12 hours a day completing these tasks on an assembly line. What? This is the United States. Up to 12 hours on an assembly line? Are you serious? People fought against this. I know it still happens, but holy hell, even having that disclaimer is absolutely. And then another one says, Florida applicants only. I understand that if hired, I will be placed on a 90-day probationary period. I understand that if I am terminated for unsatisfactory work performance within the 90-day period, the company may seek to contest any employment benefits I might attempt to obtain as a result of my termination. Now, this is very normal for the state of Florida. We are a right to work state, which gives bosses pretty much any reason to fire you. I mean, there are definitely limitations to that. It can't be, like race related or sexuality, stuff like that. But even if that were the case, they could easily, I'm sure, for any of us, find a legit reason to fire us, and the state of Florida says that that's okay. Another one, after 1 year of service, 1 week vacation, and paid holidays. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me 1 week paid vacation. It has been such an eye-opening experience that people living in the U.S., that U.S. Americans feel like this is the greatest country and there is absolutely no other country on this planet that has better living situations. And I trying to explain this to people, they get so defensive. And it's like, yeah, well, every country has their problems. Or it's like, oh, well, how do they pay for these things? Like, without even doing any research or being like, wow, are you serious? Like Sweden just is about to shift completely to a 6-hour workday. Several companies have already been working for 6 hours, and they've said that their employees are happier, productivity is up, and profit is up. And it makes sense. If you work people less and they have more time to do what they enjoy doing and spending time with friends and family and, relaxing, of course they're going to, in those hours that they're actually working, they're going to be more productive. If you have a job that you don't feel respected, you work long hours, the working conditions are just awful, you're not going to be as productive. One of the things that I really want to do with my travels is to bring these conditions to light. And I think Michael Moore, his newest film, Where to Invade Next, was actually really an inspiration for me for this. And I'm still trying to figure out where I want to take this channel. I'm still brand new. But that is definitely one aspect that I want to bring to the table. I want to make videos and to share with people in the US that have never, maybe even never traveled outside of the US, let alone lived outside of the US. I understand that the US are better in some regards than other countries as far as like quality of life. But the thing is, a lot of those countries, especially in like Central and South America, they are the way they are because of the actions of the United States and making it to where it's less of a risk to leave than it is to stay. We are so ignorant here in the US. We are kept in this box. The mainstream media will not go against anything that the US does. They either will not report on it, or if they report on it, they report on it in a way that shows the US in a good light. So I think there was one more. Must be clean cut in appearance, non-smokers only, no substance abusers or convicted criminals, locals only, no transient people. Like, just the wording of some of these things is just so awful. I don't understand how they have these people doing the hiring or putting out these memos for, job applications. So there have been 2 experiences that I've had just over a month, I believe, since I quit my job. So first of all, I made the decision after applying for a lot of positions online and not getting a single call back. The restaurant that I worked at is a fast food restaurant, which is a 3-minute drive from my house. And it was my first job. I said, this is not ideal. I don't really want to work here. But I was feeling a little, discouraged. So I went in on a Saturday with my resume, went to speak with the shift coordinator or the manager, and I saw that there was a sign. They said they had open interviews on Mondays from 2 to 4. So I spoke with the shift coordinator, asked if I needed to leave my resume or if I should just walk in. He said, just walk in. I'll be the one, doing the interviews. I'll see you then. So I came back on that Monday and did an interview with him. He was super excited because he said that they needed a front cash and a drive-through person immediately. I was excited. I thought that I was hired. And so he said that I should hear from them by Wednesday. Well, Wednesday came and went, and I didn't hear anything. So I went in, and the shift coordinator that was there was really rude. She was angry that I did an interview with this other guy because she said she was the one who was doing the hiring, not him. She was like, I don't even know who you are. Who are you? And I told her the conversation we had, and then she was like, all right, I'll be out there in a minute. Just wait. She finally came out, and she was talking to me, and she was just like so rude and was like, well, I don't even know if we're hiring. I have to talk to the general manager to see if we're even hiring. I'm like, okay, first of all, you said you're the one who does the hiring, so why were you not the one there on Monday to do the open interviews? Number two, if you're not hiring, take down that fucking sign that says open interviews on Mondays from 2 to 4. Obviously, if you're hiring if you have that sign up. And then she was asking me about my availability, and I absolutely, for a while I was refusing to work on Saturdays because that's the days that I do, I go hiking and I do things, I shoot a lot of videos, and so I had open availability, open to close every other day, and she was like, well, why can't you work on Saturdays? Literally, these employers want people to have no other responsibilities. They want open availability 7 days a week. They want no prior commitments. God forbid you need days off to go, on a vacation. You're almost guaranteed not to get it. And on top of that, they're not paying very well. It's just so aggravating. Like, I don't understand. So she said, if you don't hear from me by Tuesday, call me, because I'm only human and I might forget to put your information in for the background check. What? You're the hiring coordinator and you might forget to put my information in? So, needless to say, Tuesday came and went. I've never heard back from them, and I didn't call them because to hell with that. So the second thing that I had was I did get an email back from a place that's about 25 minutes from me. It looks like it's an all-female staff, which is phenomenal. Like, I was excited. I was like, hell yeah. So they were having open interviews this past weekend, and I went in on Friday to interview, and the general manager who was doing the interviews, they were getting kind of backed up. So this gentleman came over and he's like, oh, I'll take you next. He ended up being the owner, but immediately he looked at my resume and he said, oh, you seem a bit overqualified for this position. This whole process, everything is just so demeaning. Like, one of my friends was telling me she had to take her master's degree off of her resume. She had to take a lot of different experiences that she has off of her resume because it does make her look too overqualified. And that's so sad. Like, we've spent years going through college, and now it's like we can't even put it on our freaking resume. So then after that he said, oh, I see you lived in New York City. What brought you down here? Did your husband transfer or something? Like, what in the hell? Number one, I don't have a ring on my finger. Number two, you are doing a professional interview. You should not be fishing for whether or not I have a husband or not. It just made me so uncomfortable, and I didn't know what to say to that. And then he goes on and looks at my availability, and I had conceded to work on Saturdays, but I had given an availability of 3 to close. But he said, oh, well, Friday and Saturdays are our busiest days. This is not our life. Our jobs should not be our entire lives. People do not need to have full availability. People are missing out on really good employees because they're fixated on that one day or those few hours that they're not available. And it's none of your business why I'm not available. I'm just not available. If you're in the small percentage of people who are lucky enough to have a job that they absolutely love, is their passion, by all means, do it as much as you want to. Find that happy balance between, work and life. But there's so many of us that don't fall into that category. I keep saying this over and over again, but we need to know our worth. You're not being compensated for that full availability, for the, like you're giving your life to them. And they want, not only do they want full availability every day of the week, they also want you to basically commit the rest of your life. Like, I told him I was guaranteed to be here for a year, and it seemed like that wasn't acceptable. And they're finishing up the interviews for that location tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm going to get this job. So then that's when you'll find out if I have a job or not. And how things are going and what else I'm getting paid off, because right now the only thing I'm really able to be still paying off is my taxes. So let me get into that. I showed this board the last time. These are the debts that I owe, and these are things that are on my wish list. And this is my expenses. So like I said, I am planning on saving up to go backpacking through Central America for about 6 months. So my goal is $6,000, which I'll get to in just a moment. So last year I had a contract job that I was not paying taxes on, so I owed those taxes this year. So this was the amount. It was $486 for New York state taxes, which I have already paid in full. My federal taxes, I originally owed $2,856. And my payment plan was approved, so they take out $400 every month. So I just had another $400 payment taken out a couple of days ago. So now I'm down to $1,498 that I owe. Also, I had to pay $108 fine because I didn't have health care last year. So they requested that I paid that separately. So I sent in a money order for that. So that is paid for. So for my credit card, that's what my extra money was going to pay off. Unfortunately, right now, since I'm not employed, I'm only living off of my savings, which have just now basically been depleted when this $400 payment got taken out. But I have been paying the minimum that I owe. So I'm now down to $2,275 that I owe on my credit card. As soon as I get that paid off, I am actually thinking about going ahead and getting a new MacBook. If I have the computer and I have Adobe Premiere here, I can edit anytime that I want. I can edit, overnight. The next thing that I need to get is a new camera. I'm filming on the Canon EOS M, which is a mirrorless camera. It's a great camera, but it has a lot of downfalls. Really, it takes a while to autofocus, and sometimes it autofocuses on the wrong things. I've had to shoot videos over again because I was completely out of focus and the background was in focus. It doesn't have an LCD screen that flips up, so that's why I couldn't tell that I wasn't in focus until the video was over. I don't even know if this is still recording because the battery life is pretty low. So I have done some research, and a lot of vloggers have the Canon G7X, and the Mark II just came out, so a lot of people are getting the Mark II. And then yeah, so for 6 months, I plan on traveling through Central America. It will be about $1,000 a month with accommodation and food and excursions and activities that I want to do. I think that will be sufficient. And if I can make this YouTube thing work and I can start making a little bit of extra money, I would love to just stay on the road for as long as I can. Below in the description box, you will find Amazon links to all of the equipment that I use and to the G7X Mark II. If you click on any of these links and you purchase something from Amazon, I get a small kickback at no extra cost to you, and it helps fund my travels, which would be amazing, and I can keep making videos. I'm definitely going to vlog the entire time that I am in Central America. So for right now, I've been doing a lot of hiking, and I mentioned this in the last video, but I don't want the channel to be a hiking channel. When I start working again and I start having an income, then I want to do a lot more around the state of Florida and possibly do a few overnight excursions to other places as well. And I know most of these weren't in the frame just now, so I just want to give you a closer look. These are the state taxes that I paid in full. These are the federal taxes that I still owe. And this is my credit card. And I think those are the only ones that are really out of frame. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to continue with me on my gallivanting adventures, please hit the subscribe button. And until the next video, I leave you with revolutionary love.